Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi everybody. Welcome back with me, Desi Rahmawati, Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta on Department of Economics. Okay, now we will learn about the transformation of agriculture and development of rural areas. This is the fourth session after examination competency test. Okay, what the scope of learning today? This session we will discuss the importance of the agricultural sector for development of rural areas. We will discuss the past growth of the agricultural sector and the current transformation of the agricultural sector. We also will discuss the agrarian system structure in developing countries, and then economic transformation, and also the subsistence agricultural and agricultural expansion in Africa, the role of women in the agricultural sector, agricultural development strategy and rural development, and the last is what the requirement for rural development. Okay, I will give you some introduction for our course today. With what is the important thing of agricultural sector, so we have to learn it. What kind of agricultural sector, so that any something important thing us to discuss it. Okay, many articles that founds that agriculture sector is very important sector, important thing in the country. Maybe the contribution is very little or less, but in the long term, the agricultural sector is very struggle for economic development as the base of economic in the country, many countries, not only in Indonesia, and also in other countries, such as maybe you can say the United States. They already they have agricultural sector, and they move the agricultural sector. They develop the agricultural sector, and maybe you can see other country like New Zealand. This country very high GDP per capita, and also agricultural sector. They have agricultural sector very good in the world. So many winner in economics, he also said that the agriculture very important sector in the country. The contribution for GDP, contribution for employment, contribution to natural resources. And Africa is the only region where the food security and overall living have deteriorated, and we will reach the situation by creating a green revolution. Africa that is more suitable and more environmentally friendly. So if we talk about the agriculture sector, so we also will discuss the transformation of agriculture. Okay, now in the next session we will learn it. Okay, I will explain to you some facts of agriculture. Why this sector is very important thing. First, you can see that why happen in many countries happen the migration from the rural Asia, but also in many countries. Why it happened? Logically, if in the rural they have many of their need, for example, for education, for job opportunity, for maybe for the access of for the market, yeah, they no need to move from rural to urban. So it's that there's any problems in the rural, so people choose to move to urban. Yeah, and then the facts found that more than 2.5 billion people who works in the agricultural sector. So contribute to supply employment, and more than 3.1 billion people in the world who lives in rural areas. So that's why this is very if in the rural areas any problems, so it can be problems to agricultural sectors, or it can be we can see that this is very problems. And a half from there on the rural areas, they already in extremely poor. For example, in Latin America and Asia, a half from the people who lives in the rural areas is live in the rural areas, and more than 2 per 3 area is very extremely poor, and they do the subsistence agriculture. Okay, now you see that on the materials there are only 15 countries who will done with the extremely poor program, to decreasing of extremely poor program in the world on period 2000 until 2015. And the number one is Tanzania. Tanzania already down to decreasing of extremely poor the country with the decrease minus 3.2% per year. Okay, and then Tajikistan, Chad, Republic Congo, Republic Kyrgyz, Tiongkok, India, Maldives, and also Indonesia. So this is Indonesia also decreased for the extremely poor in the world on period 2000 until 2015 with the rate of decrease of poor is 2.3% per year. Okay, now we can look about the relationship, what the fact about the agriculture sector and rural areas. In agriculture in Southeast Asia, this sector contribution sector to gross domestic product or GDP is more than 10% and provides employment. So that's why this is vital sector, because they contribute to GDP and they contribute to employment resources. And then the second is about the supply resources. Supply resources for what? For employment and natural resources. For example, for rice, for fish, and also wood, and also maybe energy. That is the supply resources contribute from agriculture sector. And how about the rural areas? In the rural areas, the people who live on there still irrational farmer behavior. Irrational farmer behavior, it's found like subsistence farming. So they can move to other areas. And they not have simultaneously the output. The scale of economics, the scale of output is very small, yeah, because they made that. And the second fact in rural areas is rural inequality is increasing. More than 1 billion poor people, and they depend on the agricultural sector. Okay, so these facts can show you that why there any relationship between agriculture sector and rural areas. And then Simon Kuznets found that any four contribution agricultural sectors for economic development. The first is contribution of input product to industry. For example, they contribute to natural resources. And then export revenue contribution to community, people community, consumption rate in the macroeconomics. If the consumption is increasing, so it can impact to the income also increase. And the fourth is contribution to the production factor market. So if this four contribution of agriculture sector can play with the good in country, so it can develop the economic development. It can impact to condition of economic development. Okay, now we will discuss about the agricultural sector. What is the relationship between agricultural sector development and village welfare? You can see that progressive agricultural sector, if this condition is happen, so it can impact to able to play an important role in the development agenda. What is the condition of progressive agriculture? It can show that with the progressive on output from agriculture sector, it happened with the increase of output. It can show that farmer from income farmer is increased, and also maybe there any job opportunity, new job opportunity in agricultural sectors. That means that progressive agricultural sectors, if the agricultural sectors can play the important role in development agenda, it can impact to increase the income of the village community. Yeah, they people welfare is exists. They can also have a new job opportunity. They can also have the access for infrastructure, the access of the market, the access for education, the access for the water resources, the access for the energy resources, and others. Okay, now what is the trends in the agricultural sectors? Developing countries experience growth of 2.6% per year. Developed countries 0.9% per year on period 1980 to 2004. The GDP of the agricultural sector in developing country increased by 9%. It happened on period 1918 to 2004, which is higher than the global non-agricultural GDP. Development programs in order to reduce global hunger or malnutrition are considered successful in increasing agricultural productivity. Agricultural production continues to increase worldwide, but the increase in production has been uneven. Agricultural production in Asia and Latin America is quite good. However, Sub-Saharan Africa is only increased by 1/3 of agricultural production subsistence farming system, and they happen the poverty trap. Okay, Next, what is the market failure and the importance of the decrease condition on agricultural production in developing countries can impact to production in the agricultural sector. And then if this condition is happen, is the agricultural sector as a buffer of economic growth is being neglected. If this condition is happen, it will impact to the investment bias. It can shows that there was an acceleration of industrialization with the which went wrong through the flood of import substitution goods. This is the sign. They happen, the investment bias. And then if this condition is happen in the long run, so will impact this condition will impact to the agricultural sectors is increasingly depressed. Yeah. And this will impact to what we called about failure in the agricultural sectors. What the sign the market fails in the agricultural sector? You can ask like that maybe. The sign is show with the price of agricultural commodities is increasingly depressed. It responds by the price is very, very depressed. If we buy the commodities of agriculture, so that the market fails in the agricultural sectors. And then the next question is, so what should governments do to solve these problems? Government should make the policies that can win the farmers. If the farmers, the goals is how to farmers win from the situation, so it can solve these problems. The market fails. Okay, well, what the policy? For example, maybe with the fiscal policy, with the subsidy, or maybe with the tax for agricultural commodities, like this. Okay, now we will continue with the in the world. What the fact of agricultural system in the world? First is there any farmer with the owner of a scale farming with the little scale. For example, in Latin America, in Indonesia, Asia, like Indonesia, Vietnam, Thailand, Africa. So we need the agrarian system. With the agrarian system, people who lives in the country with the agricultural sector contribute the GDP. So government can facilitate this to people who lives in the country with uh, with the ownership of land. They can government give the permission or give the farmer to use the land for agriculture. And the second is the problem in fragmentation, also about land in Asia. And then the third is subsistence farming still happen in Asia and Africa. That's the problems. And then we will discuss about what the transformation of the agriculture sector. The transformation will happen, it's with sign the subsistence agriculture change with the specialized commercial farming. Subsistence agriculture with the same of output, commodities with specialized commercial farming. It's signed with the divergent or heterogeneity in the commodities of agriculture. And two is there any change or transformation from the subsistence agriculture move to a more diversified farming. The modern agricultural transformation is can we see with the sign from subsistence agriculture to specialized farming. The output of commodity is very divergent, very heterogeneity. And agricultural and rural development strategies. What the rural development strategies? Because we know that there any relationship between the agricultural sector and the rural development, so that we can say that the small scale farm improvement is happen when we can develop agricultural sectors and rural development. And this will impact to the hike of technology and innovation, will be implemented in rural areas and in agricultural sector. What for? To increase the output with technology and innovation. The output of agriculture commodities will increase. And then we can increase the scale of agricultural sector. If this condition is happen, it will impact to institutional and pricing policies. We need the policy institution who win the farmer, and the pricing policy who win the farmer. Okay, and then the last I will explain to you what the requirements for the condition to rural development. Rural development is the condition who every country hopes. This is the hope every country. The requirement is it should any effort from the government to reformation agraria. People who lives in this country, who they don't have land, government can facilitate this with the land. And then the second is with the policy support to agricultural sectors. For example, government give incentives to farmer, for fisher, or maybe to a farmer who lives in the rural. And the third is how to increase the welfare for people who lives in rural. How to improve that to welfare society in rural area. That is with the increasing of the income, with the real income per capita, people who lives in rural area. When the income per capita is increased in rural, I will continue again on the chapter of transformation agriculture sector. The last is what the requirement rural development. The first should be agrarian. The second is with the policy who support to agricultural sectors. For example, government give the incentive for farmers. That is fiscal tools. For example, with the tax or subsidies. And then the third is how to increase the welfare of community who lives in rural areas. The welfare rural community, it can be signed with the increasing of real income. If this condition is happen in rural areas, so people who lives in the rural area no need to move to the cities. So it can be drive the economic development in the rural. Okay, that's the point with me on this session. If you have any question, you can ask me personally in WhatsApp or in the discussion session in my class. Thank you for your attention and take care. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bye. See you next week.